if I'm seeking employment with an HVAC company, what are things I should be doing or I could do to get hired on faster or get hired on with a good company?
What employers are really looking for is they're looking for somebody ambitious. If you come in with drive, hey, I don't know anything about HVAC, I want to get my foot in the door, or maybe I've completed trade school, I've got all these credentials, what is that going to look like to an employer? Some of the things I looked for when I was hiring on people was, okay, what experience do they have? That's first and foremost. Everybody's going to look at the experience level. Whether it was trade school, do you have your EPA certification? Because that's a big one. I need to know that. Now, is that a end all be all? No, because I can still bring somebody on without EPA and then get them into the program to get them tested.
Really quick, before we get into this is a 7-part series that I sat down with Eric Grubbs, who is a professional, a trainer in the HVAC industry, has been in the HVAC industry for 20 plus years. Inside this series, we are going to go over everything from starting at ground zero with no experience to landing your first job in the HVAC world. So if you want to get started and build a career in the HVAC industry, these videos are for you. So stay tuned. Let's hop into it. I get done with trade school. I'm ultimately looking for an employer. Okay, I have my EPA certifications, or perhaps I have no certifications or experience. We can go back to the first episode of this little mini intro course, and I want to get hired on with an employer. Eric, you had your own HVAC company. Okay, so you can speak from experience on what you would look for from an employer standpoint. How do I, if I'm seeking employment with an HVAC company, what are things I should be doing or I could do to get hired on faster or get hired on with a good company? What are the things I should look at when I'm seeking employment?
Austin, that's a great question because that's very important. I mean, if you don't have either some of the credentials or things of that nature, there's some different tips and tricks on how that interview should go or that conversation should go with an employer. What employers are really looking for is they're looking for somebody ambitious. If you come in with drive, hey, I don't know anything about HVAC, I want to get my foot in the door, or maybe I've completed trade school, I've got all these credentials, what is that going to look like to an employer? So some of the things I looked for when I was hiring on people was, okay, what experience do they have? That's first and foremost. Everybody's going to look at the experience level. Whether it was trade school, do you have your EPA certification? Because that's a big one. I need to know that. Now, is that a end all be all? No, because I can still bring somebody on without EPA and then get them into the program to get them tested so that they will have their EPA certification. So it doesn't kill the interview if they don't have it, but it is just another step that the employer is going to have to do. And if you show that ambition, it may be worthwhile to bring that person on. Schooling is definitely a plus, but not always a necessity. So even if they haven't gone through a trade school or understand the principles, they may still be a great candidate. And here's what it really comes down to. How much of a people person are they? Most of the customers that I dealt with as a contractor, residential and commercial. So either application, you've got to be able to talk to the facilities managers on commercial side, and you've really got to be able to relate and talk to homeowners on the residential side. So you've got to have that personality, that drive to be able to engage with the customer. And those are some of the things that I'm looking at to be able to take on a tech. So between education, EPA certification, and then just pure drive and ambition, and as an employer, we can tell when we're interviewing if somebody has those things or not. I can tell just by sitting across from them. If I ask them questions like, if you come across a challenge, what avenue are you going to take and decisions that you're going to make to be able to resolve this, whatever the issue is, right? And just to kind of see how they manage, one, problem solving, and two, maybe it's conflict. And if they're not really engaged in that, answering that question, I'm going to look at that as, well, then if they're in front of a homeowner and something comes up, which it always does in the trades, I need to know, are they going to make the best decision for the company? Are they going to make the best decision for the homeowner? and what is that going to look like? So I kind of want to get that feedback to kind of have that understanding of what that individual may do. If they have drive and get it completely wrong, that's fine, I can work with it. But if they're just sitting back and very disengaged and disinterested, and they just give me an answer, well, I just pack up my tools and leave, that's probably not going to get you a position with that company. So ambition and drive is going to be actually, for me, was my biggest factor for bringing somebody on. You've got to be motivated. You've got to wake up every single day, no matter what's going on in your life, to be able to jump in that truck, handle that call, and not let your personal life or whatever's going on in your life affect that customer while you're there. You need to give them the best experience. And that's really what I'm looking for. It's all about the customer experience from an owner presence.
So people skills, communication skills, very important.
Very, yes.
So backtracking a little bit to actually landing the interview, how would you look for an HVAC company, a good HVAC company, because there's good and bad. Mm-hmm. One thing I've always thought about is like, well, would I look for a company if I'm looking for a residential company? Do I look at Google reviews to see what the Google reviews look like if they have a lot of 4.5 stars and they have thousands of Google reviews that are customers have good things to say? Is that a company I should look for and see if they're hiring, or how would you go about looking for employment?
Combination of things. So I'm a tech. Let's say I'm 18 years old. I just got out of high school. I don't know what I want to do in my life, but I know I want to get into the trades and I want to get into HVAC. First thing I'm going to do, if I'm looking at talking to a company, let's say I don't go to trade school, I just want to talk to different companies, I'm going to look at all those factors. Two, you also got to remember, it's not about I'm interviewing to get a job. You're interviewing that company also. And I think a lot of people who interview for companies miss that step. I think they're like, oh, I just need a job, I just want to get in there and work. And not every company is the same, as you pointed out. And it's very important to figure out the dynamics of that company. Are you going to be a good fit? One, with your personality, your learning style, things of that nature. The questions I would ask at that point, I come into your company, and Austin, we're having an interview. One of the questions I'm going to ask as an applicant is, how much do you invest in training for your technicians? And if they go, oh no, we don't invest in anything. Well, that's not going to be a good company for me, because what that tells me is a lot of things. They want a body, they want somebody who can move the equipment, and that's really their main focus. It's not about developing and training and career progression for a technician. And what I've seen in a lot of companies that operate that way is that let's get you in, let's work you 60, 70, 80 hours a week until you get so burnt out you just leave, and then we just go and get somebody else to fill your role. And that's not a great work environment. The environment needs to have a good feel for it. So that's what I would look for if I'm an applicant and I'm interviewing these companies for a position. Are they going to invest in me? Do they care about their techs? What does the work schedule look like? That's a big one too. You've got companies that work 24/7. You got some that are, hey, our hours of operation are 7 to 4. And yes, you're probably going to be working overtime, because we always get those afternoon calls, especially on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we need somebody out there, right? And you're also going to be pulling, not overtime, but after hours calls, and you're on standby. And being on standby, you need to ask those questions. What does standby look like for your company? Am I on standby for an entire month? What's the rotation? Is it every other week? Is it every other month? Because that's going to play a factor. If you're on standby all the time, that might not be a good company, especially starting out, because that means you're going to get on a lot of calls and not have a lot of education or knowledge to be able to fix those situations.
Okay, so then let's get into a little bit of, once you're working for that company, let's say you find a good company, they check all the boxes as far as, hey, they do reinvest in their employees for continuing education. There are opportunities for advancement as far as pay raises, things like that, and making good money. Of course, you want to work in the trades, you have a job, you want to make good money. I mean, that's just the way it is. What does kind of like, I guess, the work look like? I mean, you're working in attics. Usually the busy time of year for HVAC is the summertime. Here in Arizona, we're coming right up on that. It's hot. Are there things that, hey, I'm getting into HVAC that you should think about for maybe your mental or physical as far as those things come in the HVAC world?
For sure. Biggest part is the physical demand, being out in the heat and everything. Your body will start getting adjusted to it. You got to stay hydrated. You got to figure out some type of workout plan on your own time. Make sure you stay in shape, eat healthy. Stay away from fast food restaurants completely. Eat as healthy as you can. You know, don't stop at QT every single time you finish a call just to grab something, because that's going to affect your health and your performance out in the field. Especially, like you mentioned, attics. We've seen attics get over 170 degrees in the middle of summer in Arizona, and there's times where literally you're not going to be able to be in that attic more than 5 minutes at a time. Those are just some of the conditions. Rooftop package units, sun's blaring down on you if you're on a roof. The roof is hot, the equipment's hot. Make sure you wear gloves, make sure you got PPE, make sure you take care of yourself. You may think, oh, this is real simple and quick, let me just do it. And you're gonna be one of the statistics that's now gonna have a story for the rest of your life, whether it's a cut, scrape, burn, whatever the case may look like. But always you gotta take care of yourself in those conditions. You gotta understand what those conditions are. My suggestion is also when interviewing and talking to employers, you know, ask them what those conditions that they typically deal with, because every company is different. Every job that is going to be different. You may have crawl spaces. Even in Arizona, if you go to a lot of mobile home parks, you're doing a lot of underneath type of work. So you just got to be mentally prepared to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Perfect. How would I find an employer? Would I go on Indeed, or I guess would I? How do I really seek an employer?
Very good question. There honestly are so many different ways. Indeed is a great option because local companies typically are going to go ahead and put their advertisements on Indeed and things of that nature. That's a way. Another way, depending on what you want to do, even some manufacturers actually have their own service departments. So you can actually go to different manufacturers' websites, scroll through careers, and start looking for tech roles that way. That's going to be able to get you in a door, usually on the commercial side, because those typically deal more commercial than residential type applications. Same with refrigeration companies. I know almost any and every company you can think of, especially in the food industry, is going to have some type of refrigeration tech opportunities as well. So it just really depends on what you're looking for and what you want to get into.
Cool. And going back to the first, I throw in there just calling companies or showing up and seeing.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
And doing that too. The easy way to me, especially if you're an introvert, which isn't a great skill to have if you want to get into HVAC, right? Especially on the residential side of things or commercial, dealing with customers and people. That's part of the game in most trades, is having, extrovert skills, people skills. So things you're going to probably develop those things. It's definitely easier just to try to find a position on Indeed or on a website and just apply. But I feel like the squeaky wheel still needs to get the grease. If you apply for those jobs, you probably still should call those employers and say, hey, I applied for a position 2 days ago. I'm wondering, did you get my application? Did you see my resume? Right?
Yes.
Following up, those things of that nature.
So you're absolutely right. Follow-up is key, because if they hear from you and you, like you said, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you've got to be able to, they're going to remember you. Hey, this person who applied for this position, he keeps calling or she keeps calling. And then from a psychological standpoint, they're going to go, maybe we just need to get them in an interview. Let's see what they're all about. They're reaching out to us. That's a huge thing. I can tell you just from experience, I moved to Alabama years ago. My wife had family down there, so we moved to Alabama for a short stint. And while we were down there, I applied for every position within an HVAC company just to have something lined up. And I heard nothing back from any of the companies within like a 50-mile radius. So after 2 weeks, I started making phone calls to every single company. Hey, I sent in my resume. Did you get it? And every company said, yes, we received your resume. The problem is you're overqualified. We can't afford you. And I thought, wow, that's
a good problem to
surprising.
have.
Yes. I'd worked for a major manufacturer. I was an instructor for the Air Force. I'd done commercial with the Air Force as well. And so just because of that background, I guess it was just the dynamics of the area, did not even want to interview me, and just in their mind immediately went, nope, you're overqualified. We don't want to bring you on. So that is a great problem to have.
Yeah, but back to that point I was making is, hey, they might not get back to you whether it's because you're overqualified or underqualified, but at least you can call and try to get peace of mind of wondering, okay, hey, I did apply for this position. Did you see? Yeah, we did see. We seen on your resume that you don't have XYZ certification or this or that. This is what we're looking for a tech or an applicant. So at least you know, oh, hey, okay, well, that's something I should look into getting, or I should go get, so I can become a better applicant. Because if this HVAC company is looking for it, there's a good chance that this one over here or this one over there probably is looking for it too. So with that being said, next we are going to get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of being an HVAC tech, things like math or different systems within the HVAC industry, so you guys could perhaps get a little bit better understanding of what you could expect to see as far as the different systems or even math, because believe it or not, math is a big thing in the HVAC industry.